This is Tim Bryce with my column titled, This is War. The 2018 congressional midterm elections will be bloody. As usual, the GOP is naive regarding political campaigning and underestimates the ferocity of the Democrats. Let's first understand what's at stake here. The Democrats suffered a severe blow by losing the 2016 elections. Because of this, 2018 represents a make-or-break year for the progressive liberal agenda. If they fail to retake Congress in either chamber, the Democratic Party will be unable to stop President Trump in 2020 and will likely go into a tailspin searching for new leadership. As such, they are desperate for a victory and will go to any length to achieve one, whether it is legal or not. In desperation, the left and their news media lapdogs will undoubtedly be pulling out all of the stops. This includes misleading the public, character assassination, lying and deceit, violating voter laws, intimidation, etc. No, they will certainly not be playing fair. They are at war. Their hatred of President Trump is nothing more than a campaign tactic. This is why they will never find anything positive to say about the president and refuses to cooperate with him. By doing so, they create a diametrically opposing view of reality, which is reported to the public in the hopes it will be construed the president is an utter failure. To illustrate, the left adamantly contends the president is a racist. Yet there is no evidence to this effect in his personal, corporate, and presidential lives. He has made generous donations to minority organizations, and his economic policies have benefited blacks and Latinos, particularly in generating jobs and getting them off of welfare. Yet he is labeled a racist. His recent tax reform legislation benefits both corporations and all classes of workers. Yet it is dismissed by the left as only benefiting the wealthy and supports their premise of trickle-down economics. Yet the new tax structure is already showing signs of materially boosting the economy and increasing worker income. In another area, the president's doctor recently gave the president a clean bill of health. Yet there are people in the news media spin this to mean he is at risk to heart disease. In other words, no matter whatever good the president does, it will always be spun and reported as evil by the left. This is why they have a fixation with the Russian probe, even though nothing of substance has yet to surface. Remarkably, there is little interest in the Russian bribery case regarding the Uranium One deal involving former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. By vilifying Mr. Trump, they hope to associate GOP congressional candidates with him, thereby thwarting the chances for election. If these candidates renounce the president out of fear, the Democrats will win. Instead, they need to turn something negative into something positive by touting the president's accomplishments. In other words, the GOP candidates have to jump on the Trump train as opposed to resisting him, recognizing their collective fate rests in his hands. The GOP better get its act together fast, as the left is already organized and working in a concerted manner. As usual, the Republicans have to play catch-up, but fortunately, there is still time. The first thing to learn to do is think beyond a single candidate. You might have a favorite, but you have to think of all the candidates in your jurisdiction. The Democrats are. Next, recognize that it's time to fight back with the same ferocity the left is exhibiting. Frankly, this country cannot afford to revert back to democratic rule. They need to be slapped down. There are 3 steps required for this type of political campaign. First, get organized. This includes forming committees with leaders and workers who will assume responsibility and possess a sense of urgency. Education and instruction are essential, very important. These committees need to learn to network in order to understand what is going on elsewhere and to learn from each other. They should also find ways to work together, not apart. Communications is vital, whether it be through a website, email blasts, telephone calls, podcasts, or a regularly produced newsletter. All of this implies the need for a master address book to contact people. As an inherent part of your communications, develop a calendar of events and maintain it regularly. Be sure to include pertinent dates of both Republican and Democratic events in your area, thereby encouraging attendance by members of the GOP. This is particularly useful for attending Democratic town hall meetings where people can voice their opposition. Planning and scheduling is key to this activity. Be careful in allocating human resources, as you do not want to stretch your people thin, thereby causing them to burn out. Your management philosophy should be simple. Delegate responsibility and get out of the way. Empower people and hold them accountable for their commitments. Second, enlist recruits. not just volunteers to serve on committees, but to register people to legally vote. For those who wish to vote in person as opposed to absentee ballot, make arrangements to get them to their voting precinct. Third, let your voice be heard. Whether it is through advertising, sign waving, speeches, or writing campaigns to editors and local politicians. More importantly, take the fake news to task, as they are not proponents of Republicans and spread the lies of the left. Prepare a list of the newspapers, television, and radio stations and bloggers in your area, including the names and contact information of the key contacts of the fake news. Write to them and correct their inaccuracies. It may even be necessary to picket their offices and make sure other news sources are made aware of it. If necessary, start a campaign to boycott or censure them. After all, if they mislead the public, they are not proponents of truth. Let them know what they are doing is unacceptable. In all your dealings with the public and the news media, do not lie, cheat, or defraud. That's what the Democrats do. It is not worth lowering yourself to their level. Handle yourself professionally and with dignity, thereby becoming a model for others to emulate. Those that elected Mr. Trump in 2016 from Middle America find it refreshing when people deport themselves honestly. Do not apologize for being right. As Americans, the concept of such a vicious campaign is distasteful, but the reality is the progressive left agenda is at stake here, and the Democrats have already demonstrated they will sink to the lowest levels to maintain their programs. Honesty be damned. No, the kid gloves are off, and it is time to stop the lying and dirty politics of the left. They have distracted this country long enough and kept us from achieving greatness. It's time to get organized and get going. Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.